the metabolism. Okay, metabolism of the proteins. How proteins get metabolized and get absorbed or obtain the energy. So after that, if metabolism doesn't occur properly, so what type of disorders may take place? So let's see one by one. So what exactly the metabolism? This process takes place in our body to get or make energy from the food. Okay. So food is made up of proteins, carbohydrates and fats. So these chemicals of digestive systems which break down food into two parts. Those are the sugar and acids that body can use the fuel right away. Okay. So it can store the energy in your body tissues such as liver, muscles and body fat cells. So metabolic, what are different types of metabolic disorders here? Let's see. It occurs when abnormal chemical reactions in your body disturb this process. Okay. Abnormal chemical reactions occurs in your body and those chemical reactions disturb this metabolic processes. When it happens, you might have the excess of some substances, okay, the above normal level. The excess of substances occurs or accumulate or to lead into other one that you need to stay healthy. Okay. Then there are different types of different groups of disorders. Some affect the breakdowns of amino acids, carbohydrates and lipid cells. Then another one is mitochondria, means affect the part of the cells that produces the energy. Okay, some disorders when occurs, then that time some part or any breakdown of these biomolecules or macronutrients, those are amino acid, carbohydrate, lipids, they affect on the breakdown of these macronutrients or biomolecules. And another one, some part of these disorders affect the mitochondrial. Means mitochondria मध्ये जे पण parts असतील cells त्याच्यावर ते affect करतात. Okay, and that which part produce the energy. So there is a chance to develop a metabolic disorders when organs such as liver or pancreas do not function normally. So let's see what are the disorders here. First one is the phenylketonuria. First one is phenylketonuria. It is a type of amino acid metabolism disorder. Okay, it is a type of amino acid metabolism disorders. In this disorder, can't process phenylalanine. This is one of the amino acid. Okay, so this is one of the essential amino acid. काय याची रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी काय? हा काय प्ले करतो रोल? कुठला रोल प्ले करतो? आठवतंय आपण पाहिलं होतं. It acts as a neurotransmitter. Okay, आणि मूड स्विंग्स जे होतात, okay, ते या amino acid. So in this disorder, this amino acid can't process properly. Okay, and it is an amino acid which building blocks of the protein, and it is present in almost all foods. Okay. So its level high in this disorder. This amino acid gets high in the level, can damage the brain, severe intellectual disability. Okay. So in this process, it is a rare condition in which a body is born without the ability to properly break down of the amino acid. That is phenylalanine. So what are the causes behind this? It is inherited genetically. It's passed on through the families. Then missing an enzyme called phenylalanine hydroxylase. Missing an enzyme which are called the phenylalanine hydroxylase, which is responsible to break down the amino acid phenylalanine. Okay, this enzyme is responsible for breaking down the phenylalanine and which convert to tyrosine. After the breakdown, this enzyme converts this amino acid into tyrosine. Okay, and level of this amino acid increase in this case, and which can harm the central nervous system and damage the brain. So what are the symptoms behind this? So this amino acid is responsible to produce the melanin pigment also. Okay, this amino acid is responsible to produce the melanin also for skin and hair color. Then symptoms which have been seen, those are the infants with the condition often have lighter skin, hair and the eyes. Okay, hair म्हणजे आपले नॉर्मल ब्लॅक असतात त्यापेक्षा ते जस्ट ग्रे होतात. ओके, स्किनचा कलर सुद्धा फेअर म्हणजे नॉर्मल जो फेअर असतो तसा नसतो. ओके, जो व्हाईटिश फेअर म्हणतो ना आपण, खूप लालसर गोरेपणा किंवा वेगळा असा व्हाईटिश गोरेपणा जो आपण म्हणतो ना, त्या प्रकारचं सिम्पटम्स याच्यामध्ये दिसतं ड्यू टू दी ॲब्सेन्स ऑफ ऑर लॅक ऑफ मेलानिन पिगमेंट. ओके, बिकॉज दिस phenylalanine also responsible for to produce the melanin pigment. So the delayed mental and social skills also observed. Then head size is smaller than normal here. Okay, head size very smaller than normal. Then hyperactivity is there. Then jerky movements of arms and legs. Jerky movements means जे जनरली असं शेक करतो किंवा मग सतत हालत असतात पाय आणि आर्म्स. ओके, सो then next is the mental disability. Then skin rashes may be found. Then mousy or musty color to break skin, air bags and the urine. It is due to the eaten this amino acid protein. What are the exams and tests? It can be easily detected with a simple blood test for screening of this PKU soon after the birth. Okay. Then it is done with the bacterial inhibition assay. Is there, that is U3 test. This U3 named scientist find out or invented this test. Then immunoassays using fluorometric or photometric detection is there. Then amino acid measurement using the tandem MS, that is one of the immunological tests is this. Then determine the concentration of this amino acid and the ratio of the phenylalanine to tyrosine. Okay. Then what is the treatment for this? It is not curable as it is an inherited disease. Okay, it is a genetic disease, so no cure for there. If detected earlier, an affected infant can grow up with a normal brain development by the managing and controlling the phenylalanine level through the diet or in combination with the medicines. Then diet recommended by the doctor, that is special diet with low amino acid for optimal brain development. Okay. Then restricting or eliminating food which high in the phenylalanine, that is soybean, eggs, shrimp. काय आहे माहिती? Shrimp फिशचा प्रकार, one of the type of fish. त्यातून पण most of the proteins मिळतात. Then chicken is there, fish and legumes. So specifically हे जे डाएट आहे असे डाएट ज्याच्यातून लो क्वांटिटी मध्ये phenylalanine amino acid प्रोव्हाइड होते. So हे low diet of this phenylalanine amino acid must be provided by the doctor. So starchy food can be recommended, potato and corn also. Then fruits and vegetables with the low quantity of this phenylalanine can be eaten in the larger quantity. Then nutritional supplement is also there, that is protein substitute to provide amino acid and other essential nutrients are there. Then tyrosine supplemented for the normal brain because what happens in this case, phenylalanine also phenylalanine hydroxylase enzyme जो आहे तो phenylalanine ला ब्रेकडाउन नॉर्मली phenylalanine ला ब्रेकडाउन करून तो टायरोसिन मध्ये कन्वर्ट करतो. ओके, पण डिसऑर्डर असल्यामुळे यामध्ये ती प्रोसेस प्रॉपरली होत नाही. सो टायरोसिन सप्लिमेंट also provided for the normal function. Then enzyme substitutes are there, that is Biochemistry enzyme that is metabolize the phenylalanine amino acid and tetrahydrobiopterin that is a cofactor for the oxidation of this amino acid. Then second metabolic disorder is alkaptonuria. Alkaptonuria that is also called as the black urine diseases. Okay, black urine diseases. So it is very rare inherited disorder. Again, this is the hereditary passed on from the families or offspring. Then very rare inherited disorder that prevents the body fully breaking down two protein building blocks. Okay, two protein building blocks called tyrosine and phenylalanine. What happens in that? This prevents, in these disorders, it prevents the body fully breaking down two protein building blocks. Which of them? Those are tyrosine and phenylalanine. So it results in a buildup of the chemical called homogentic acid. Okay, what happens in here after the breakdown? Here the build up chemical called as homogentic acid. Then this can turn urine and parts of the body a dark color and lead to a range of problems. Okay. So that's why it's called as the black urine disease due to this genticic acid. Okay. So this genticic acid cannot be broken down this amino acid properly, okay? Because enzyme that normally breaks it down does not work properly. So signs and symptoms behind of this, those are, it stains the tissue dark. Okay, any tissue of the body it stains dark. Stains means त्याला कलर पूर्ण टिश्यू बॉडी पार्ट्स ला डार्क कलर देतो. Okay. Then it's such as cartilage, tendons, bones, nails, ears and a heart there. Joints and bones problems occurs here when reaches in a 20s or 30s. See, it occurs in a childhood. Okay, but when the child turns into the 20s and 30 years old, that time joint and bone pains problems will be occurring in the future. So knee, hip, shoulder pain also there. Then osteoarthritis may be occurring in this process. Then joint and spinal damage is also there. Then thickening and blue-black discoloration of the ear cartilage there. So earwax, जे पूर्ण कानामध्ये बराचसा कचरा जमा होतो. ओके, वॅक्स लाईक कचरा, स्टिकी कचरा त्याच्यामध्ये जमा होतो, which is a black color or brown color. Okay, due to what? कोणता केमिकल तयार होतं याच्यात? Homogentic acid. It is black in color. Okay, that's why the body or tissue parts gets the black color or brown color. So black spots in the eyes also occurs. Okay, in this case. Then skin and nails also becomes a black color. Then discolored sweating stains clothes. त्यामुळे मग patient जे कपडे घालतो त्याला सुद्धा कलर येतो. ते कलर कपडे सुद्धा स्टेन्स होतात. Then blue black of skin, nails when exposed to the sun mainly. Then cheeks, forehead, arms, genital areas. Then breathing difficulties also occurs in this case. So due to stiffness of bones, muscles prevent chest expansion. Okay, chest expand होत नाही जेव्हा breathe in out करतो. Exhale जेव्हा respiration करतो प्रत्येक बॉडी लंग्स करतात that time it muscles prevents its chest expansion and lead to shortness of breath. Okay, so breathing is the problem. Then heart, kidney, prostate glands problems. Then hemogenic acid deposited around heart wall. Okay, this homogenic acid is deposited or accumulate around the heart wall and become the hard and turn brittle or black color. Then blood vessels which are becomes a stiff and weakens. Then deposits may lead to kidney stones or prostate stones. Then these are about the signs and symptoms. And treatment, about the treatment, no specific treatment given for this disorder, but medicine it may be stabilized for the patient. Then painkillers are there, lifestyle changes. Then medicinone is reduce the level of homogenic acid. And still research is going on this medicine. But diet is there, that is restricted protein diet, which may reduce the level of tyrosine and phenylalanine. Then exercise must be there, that relieving the stress, lose weight, then physiotherapy, then surgery must be there in a severe case. Okay. The third disorder is the albinism. It is a congenital or inherited disorders. All of these disorders are the inherited or genetic disorder you may be seeing. Then it is a complete or partial absence of the pigment in the skin. Okay. Skin pigment, melanin pigment is there. So complete or partial absence of pigment in the skin, hair and eyes. Okay. Due to the absence or defect of an enzyme involved in the production of the melanin pigment. So albinism may be disorder of the melanin pigment. Okay. Production, melanin pigment's production properly होत नाही. Whether there is a complete prevention of the production of this melanin pigment or partially. Okay. So what are the causes behind this? Genes passed from the both parents or only one parents. So mainly it is a highly congenital or genetic disease. They due to absence of the defect of tyrosinase. Okay. If it is due to absence of defect of tyrosinase enzyme. Tyrosinase enzyme which copper containing involved in the melanin. Okay. So two types of albinism is there. That is acutocutaneous albinism. Means what? The pigment is lacking in the eyes, skin and hair. Okay. And ocular albinism means only the eyes lack pigment. बाकी सगळ्या बॉडीमध्ये pigment properly तयार होतं. But in this type of albinism, only in the eyes there is a lack of pigment. So symptoms: light hair, skin and eyes due to the lack of pigment, melanin pigment. Then reduce the pigmentation in iris also and retina. Those are the part of eyes. Okay. Then vision problems. Eye movements is there. Then increase the light sensitivity. And treatment for this, no cure for this, for it, and it can manage through the lifestyle adjustment. Should not give the substitute for this. Then regular health skin checks by a dermatologist and glasses for low vision. So it's a let's start the next point. Plasma protein, their types, functions and the normal values. So let's see first one, what is the plasma? Is anyone knows about plasma, serum? Any idea? What are plasma? Okay, no issue. So let's start. What is plasma here? Plasma means an extracellular liquid portion of blood. Okay, blood withdraw केल्यानंतर sample collect करतो. Okay, just a simple concept सांगते आधी मग बघू आपण पुढे बघूच नाही. प्लाझ्मा म्हणजे ब्लड विड्रॉ केल्यानंतर ते सेंट्रिफ्यूज केलं जातं फॉर द टेस्ट. काही टेस्ट अशा असतात ज्या डायरेक्ट ब्लड घेऊन पण अनालिसिस केल्या जातात. ओके, पण काही टेस्ट अशा असतात जे ब्लड मधल्या आरबीसी सेटल डाऊन करून त्यातून जे सेपरेट फ्लूइड तयार होतं, आयसोलेट होतं, त्याच्या पण टेस्ट केल्या जातात. ओके, सो सेंट्रिफ्युगेशन माहिती आहे, एनीबडी नोस सेंट्रिफ्युगेशन? सो डिफरंट टाइप्स ऑफ सेंट्रिफ्यूज मशीन इज देयर. ओके, आणि त्याच्यात डिफरंट टाइप्स ऑफ आरपीएम वर ते रोटेट होतं. ओके, स्पीडली रोटेट होतं आणि स्पेसिफिक टाइमवर डिपेंड्स ऑन द टेस्ट ते रोटेट केलं जातं फॉर द सेपरेशन ऑफ द प्लाझ्मा और सीरम. सो सीरम इज द also the part of the blood. Means what? Two types of blood collection. Different types of collection methods are there. Okay. So depending on the taste. काही टेस्ट अशा आहेत ज्या प्लाझ्मा मध्ये करतात, काही टेस्ट अशा आहेत ज्या सीरम यूज करून करतात. So what is the difference between plasma and serum here? That जर anticoagulated blood means what? क्लॉटेड ब्लड ची जी टेस्ट असते त्याच्यासाठी सीरम यूज करतात आणि ज्यामध्ये ब्लड क्लॉट होत नाही, ओके, अशा काही टेस्ट असतात. असे अँटीकोॲग्युलंट्स कमर्शियली अवेलेबल असतात. त्या टेस्टसाठी ते अँटीकोॲग्युलंट्स वापरतात. त्या ट्यूबमध्ये और क्युरेट्समध्ये कलेक्ट करतात आणि त्यामध्ये ब्लड विड्रॉ करून मग ऍड केलं जातं. ओके, म्हणजे मग आपल्या बॉडीमध्ये ब्लड आफ्टर दी विड्रॉ they clot होत नाही. Okay, so depending on that, so plasma is the anticoagulated blood. Okay, so plasma म्हणजे काय? मग anticoagulated blood जे असतं ते सेपरेट करतात सेंट्रिफ्यूज मशीन मध्ये आणि त्यापासून जो सेपरेटेड पेरिफेरल फ्लुइड आयसोलेट होता, तोच पार्ट इज कॉल्ड एज द प्लाझ्मा. आणि सीरम इज ऑल्सो सेम थिंग, पण क्लॉटेड ब्लड असतं. ओके, क्लॉटेड ब्लड मधून ते ब्लड सेपरेट सीरम आयसोलेट केलं जातं, फ्लुइड आयसोलेट केलं जातं. दॅट फ्लुइड इज कॉल्ड एज अ सीरम. ओके, अंडरस्टूड द डिफरन्स बिटवीन द प्लाझ्मा अँड सीरम? ओके, सो लेट्स स्टार्ट. व्हॉट इज द प्लाझ्मा हियर? सो प्लाझ्मा मीन्स an extracellular liquid portion of the blood which is transparent and pale yellow or straw colored. Okay, straw means here what is straw? ते आपले ह्याचे असतात ना, काय बऱ्याचदा ते गवत वगैरे किंवा मग शेतामध्ये बरेच ग्रेन्स वगैरे उगवतात आणि मग त्याच्यानंतर ते पूर्ण ग्रेन्स वगैरे ड्राय झाल्यानंतर त्याच्या खाली त्यांचं ज्याच्यामध्ये येत असतं काय म्हणतो आपण त्याला, त्याचे जे फायबर्स असतात, ओके, दॅट इज कॉल्ड एज द स्ट्रॉ कलर. मराठीत काय म्हणतात त्याला? काय इकडे वेगळा काहीतरी शब्द आहे. त्या काळ्या काळ्या होतात ना, जे मुलांना वगैरे काय खायला देतात, that part is called as the straw. ठीक आहे, इज अनदर थिंग, जस्ट कलर और कलर आपण ते जस्ट इमॅजिन करतोय. Then plasma is about 92% water, or you can say 90% water, serving the solvent from the other substances. Then proteins, albumin, antibodies and clotting factors are there. Then electrolytes, substances like sodium, potassium, chloride, bicarbonate, magnesium and calcium there. Then nutrients such as sugar like glucose, fats, amino acids, then which are transported to cells for energy and other functions there. Hormones are also there. Then waste products, that is urea and creatinine, which are transported to the kidneys for the excretion. Then enzymes and vitamins are also present. You can see here in the image, this is the centrifuge machine. Okay. See the different types of blood samples are present in those assembly, that is centrifuge machine. And this part, so you can see here in the images, this yellow blue part is called as the plasma. So this is the centrifugation of blood. This is the process. You can see here the plasma. Then white blood cells are there and RBCs are there in three parts, isolated in the three parts. So you can see here clearly in these figures. So after the centrifugation, see pale yellow color transparent fluid isolated from the blood, that is plasma. Okay, 55% of total blood. Okay, 55% of plasma is there. Then the white line, and you see this. See, this is called as the Bucky coat. Okay, Bucky coat, and in that Bucky coat, leukocytes and platelets are there. Okay. Then erythrocyte settle down after the centrifugation. So in that 55% part, in the plasma there are salts, minerals, water, and the proteins are present. Okay. Then in Bucky coat, white blood cells and platelets are present, and these are the RBCs. Okay, understood up to this? So different types of, this is the blood vessel, and different types of components are there. Cells are there. Plasma. This is the plasma. This part is the fluid. Is the plasma. So many different types of cells are there, the leukocytes and platelets. So let's come to the plasma protein name. Okay, what is the plasma protein? So blood plasma contains the proteins known as blood proteins or plasma proteins. So they perform many tasks such as transporting hormones, lipids, vitamins and the minerals for immune system activation. So the liquid component of blood known as plasma contains varied collection of the proteins known as plasma protein. So they comprise over 7% of blood volume overall and essential for the osmotic pressure regulation. What is osmotic pressure, osmosis and all everybody knows? Osmosis. So substance transport, then homeostasis maintenance. What is this homeostasis? Anybody knows? Homeostasis is surroundingशी ऍडजस्ट करणे. जी आपली बॉडी सराउंडिंग जसं असतं तशी आपली बॉडी ऍडजस्ट करते. ओके, इन समर व्हॉट हॅपन्स, गरमी होते, स्वेटिंग होतं आणि त्यामुळे आपली बॉडी कूल होते. ओके, थंडीत पण काय करतोय आपण जनरली क्लोज वेअर दी वार्म क्लोज. ओके, सो बॉडी पण वार्म होते इन द विंटर. सो दिस प्रोसेस म्हणजे ऍडजस्टमेंट ऑफ बॅलन्स द प्रोसेस ऑफ द बॉडी that according to the surrounding, that process is called as the homeostasis, and the immune response support there. Then the liver produces the majority of plasma proteins that are then produced and released into the bloodstream. So where they travel throughout the body and interact with different tissues and the organs there. So the same images there. In small little content there. Small detail content. What exactly the plasma protein contain? Okay. आतापर्यंत पाहिलं आपण की प्लाझ्मा मध्ये काय काय असतं. प्लाझ्मा मध्ये प्रोटीन असतं, पण what exactly the protein contain? Okay. प्लाझ्मा प्रोटीन मध्ये काय काय? So in plasma protein there is albumin, globulin, adenogene and HTPP means hormone transporting plasma protein. Okay, so there are different types of hormones as present. So they hormone transport करण्याचं काम plasma protein. So let's see the types of plasma proteins. First one is the albumin. First one is albumin. This making up around 60% of all the proteins in the blood. Okay. This albumin making up around 60% of all protein in the blood. And albumin is most common form of the plasma protein. It is a simple protein made up of just one amino acid chain. Okay. Albumin is made up of just one amino acid chain. म्हणजेच काय? चेन मोठी असेल प्रोटीनची, पण त्यातला जो अमिनो ऍसिड असेल तो सेम असेल. ओके, 10 अमिनो ऍसिड असतील, 100 अमिनो ऍसिड्स असतील, पण ऑल ऑफ देम आर द सेम. म्हणजे ॲलेनिक असेल तर 100 ॲलेनिक अमिनो ऍसिड पासून एक हा अल्ब्युमिन प्रोटीन जो आहे तो बनलेला असेल. ओके, सो albumin is essential for preserving the blood's osmotic pressure, which is required to maintain the body's electrolyte and water balance. Then additionally, it may help in the transportation of number of molecules such as fatty acids, hormones and the enzymes. Okay, this is the albumin and normal value or normal range in the blood approximately 3.5 to 5 gram per deciliter. Okay, 3.5 to 5 gram per dl. Then next factor is the globulin. It is alpha, beta and gamma globulins are only a few of many subtypes of the globulin, a class of proteins that are more complicated than the albumin. Okay, why is called a complicated? Albumin मध्ये एकच सेम अमिनो ऍसिड चेन असते. ओके, पण ग्लोबुलिन मध्ये अल्फा, बीटा, गॅमा ग्लोबुलिन्स असतात. ओके, that's why it's called as complicated. So what is alpha globulin here? Alpha globulin, the group of proteins known as alpha globulins. Okay, group of proteins known as alpha globulins, which include the alpha fetoprotein. Okay, in short, it is also called as the AFP. Then which is includes the alpha globulin includes the alpha fetoprotein, which is generated by the fetal liver. Okay, that's why it's called as the fetoprotein. Fetal means the fetus body. Okay, and is utilized as a marker for certain cancer. Okay, it's utilized as a marker for certain cancers. Is what marker म्हणजे काय? म्हणजे सपोज एखादा डिसऑर्डर झाला असेल, एनी डिस्फंक्शन होत असेल, तर दॅट टाइम इन दिस केस हा अल्फा फिटोप्रोटीन जो असतो त्याची लेवल जी असते ती इन्क्रीज होते. ओके, म्हणजे हे तर एक्झाम्पल झालं, पण व्हॉट एक्झॅक्टली द कन्सेप्ट ऑफ मार्कर. सपोज हार्ट डिसीजेस पण असतील तर त्याच्यामधला कोलेस्ट्रॉल किंवा जो पण हार्ट डिसीजेस साठी आपण हार्ट डिसीजेस असेल रिस्पॉन्सिबल जो एन्झाईम असेल, प्रोटीन असेल, त्याची लेवल जी असते ती ब्लड मध्ये इन्क्रीज होते. ओके, सो प्रोस्टेट कॅन्सर मध्ये जनरली मसल डिसीजेस मध्ये CK म्हणजे क्रिएटिनिन कायनेज एन्झाईम जो असतो त्याची टेस्ट मेनली करतात. अगेन हियर अल्फा फिटोप्रोटीन अल्फा ग्लोबुलिन मध्ये काय असतं? अल्फा फिटोप्रोटीन असतं. Then it includes the proteins such as alpha 1 trypsin and alpha 1 trypsin which binds the protease enzyme and the hepatoglobin also there. Okay, what three types of proteins are present in alpha globulin? That is alpha fetoprotein, then alpha 1 antitrypsin and hepatoglobin. Okay, hepatoglobin is protein present in the liver. Hepato means liver. Hepatocytes म्हणतो आपण. Okay, or haptoglobin is there. Then which binds free hemoglobin. Then next is the beta globulin there. Beta globulins which includes a variety of proteins including complement proteins and transmembrane. Then which help in the movement of iron throughout the body. This beta globulin transport the lipids and fat soluble vitamins. For example, beta lipoprotein and which play a role in the immune system there. For example, complement protein. And last one is the gamma globulin. See, alpha, beta and gamma globulin. Gamma globulin, it is also called as the immunoglobulins or antibodies, mainly present in the immune system. So gamma globulins are antibodies produced by plasma cells called B lymphocytes. Okay, immune system everybody have heard I guess. Okay, यामध्ये mainly ज्या cells antibodies तयार होतात, ज्या cells असो त्या cells म्हणजे B lymphocytes. Okay, and are very important component of the adaptive immune response. Adaptive immune response means immunity चा टाइप आहे ना, दोन टाइपच्या immune systems असतात, innate and adaptive. Innate means natural, adaptive means artificially. Okay, adaptively. Then provided defines against the pathogens, toxins and the foreign substances. This must be defense. Then immunoglobulins commonly referred to as gamma globulins are very important for the immunological response. And normal value of this total serum globulin level typically range from the 2 to 3.5 gram per liter. Total याची specifically वेगळी range नाही दिली तरी पण चालते. It's a total globulin, total serum globulin levels typically range from 2 to 3.5 gram per liter. And third component of this plasma protein is the fibrinogen. Okay, what is first one? Albumin, then globulin. Globulin, in globulin there is a alpha, beta and gamma. Okay, then third one is the fibrinogen. Okay, so plasma protein जर क्वेश्चन आला तर त्यामध्ये हे तीन टाइपचे कॉम्पोनंट जे आहेत ते तुम्हाला एक्सप्लेन करावे लागतील. आणि स्मॉल तुम्हाला जेवढी पण आता हे मी इमेज दाखवले तुम्हाला, पण तुम्ही तुमच्या याने पण सिम्पली एक ड्रॉ करू शकता. तुम्हाला कलर पेन्सिल वगैरे अलाउ आहे का यूज करायला? सो त्यामध्ये फक्त पेल येलो कलर फ्लुइड प्लाझ्मा दाखवायचा. ओके, त्यामध्ये प्रोटीन्स वगैरे जस्ट स्मॉल एक सुपरफिशियल डायग्राम फक्त त्याच्यात काढायची. सो नेक्स्ट लास्ट वन इज द fibrinogen. So fibrinogen is a glycoprotein. See, fibrinogen is a glycoprotein. What is glycoprotein here? Glucose attached with the protein. That's why it's called as the glycoprotein. That plays a central role in blood clotting. It's mainly blood clotting मध्ये important role play करतो fibrinogen. This is one of the clotting factor. It is synthesized by the liver and is converted to fibrin during the clotting process. So during the coagulation process, fibrinogen is converted to fibrin by the enzyme thrombin. And forming a meshwork or network, you can say, that stabilizes the blood clots and prevents the excessive bleeding. Okay. Then normal value of this, that is approximately 200 to 400 milligrams per deciliter, mg per liter. Okay. plasma in those albumin is there, albuminogen is there, and globulin. Four parts of globulins are there: alpha 1, 2, beta, and gamma. Okay, and total 65 to 85 gram per liter. Mainly, it must be present in our body normally. And when it goes to, it's going to the analysis, the normal electrophoresis आपण करणार आहोत नंतर. So normal electrophoretic graph and blood protein looks like this. See, albumin normally इतक्या लेवल पर्यंत प्रेझेंट असतो. So it shows the graph like this. This peak it shows. Okay. Normally albumin नंतर alpha 1 येणार, alpha 2 येणार. Okay. हा सिक्वेन्स जो असतो हा नॉर्मली असाच असायला हवा असतो, हा फिक्स असतो. ओके. टेस्ट करताना केल्यानंतर रिझल्ट मध्ये कधी आधी अल्बुमिन येईल, मग बीटा येईल, मग अल्फा येईल, मग गॅमा येईल असं होत नाही. ओके. इट मस्ट बी लाईक दिस ओनली. सो अल्बुमिनचा रिझल्ट असाच दिसणार. अल्फाचा जो आहे ना पीक इज सिमिलर टू ऑर जस्ट अ लिटिल लोअर दॅन द अल्फा 2. देन गॅमाच्या इथे असा हा पीक क्लीन दिसणारच. Okay, and half gamma globulin. So this is the result after analysis of the plasma protein level. So in addition to these three main types of plasma proteins, there are also a number of other proteins that are found in smaller quantities in the blood plasma, including the lipoproteins, which transport the lipids throughout the body, and enzymes which catalyze the biochemical reactions. So last small part is there, just the functions over there. Then functionally the plasma proteins are classified in classifications also there. So functionally or as per the functions of these proteins, these plasma proteins are classified into different types. Those are transport proteins. So they bind, these transport proteins bind and transport hardly water soluble substances. For example, the albumin. This albumin transport the proteins throughout the body or throughout the blood, you can say. Then acute phase proteins are there. They are associated with the inflammation. The C-reactive protein. Have you heard this? C-reactive protein. ऐकलं? जनरली कोरोनाच्या पिरियड मध्ये ही टेस्ट खूप वेळा केली फॉर द कन्फर्मेशन टेस्ट. म्हणजे सपोज स्पेसिफिकली जेव्हा आपल्याला कोणतं स्पेसिफिक इन्फेक्शन आहे हे जर समजत नसेल, दॅट टाइम सी रिएक्टिव्ह प्रोटीन ही टेस्ट केल्या जाते. ओके. देन दिस नेक्स्ट इज द प्रोटीन्स ऑफ द इम्यून डिफेन्स सिस्टम्स. फॉर एक्झाम्पल इम्युनोग्लोबुलिन्स अँड कॉम्प्लिमेंट फॅक्टर्स आहेत. कॉम्प्लिमेंट फॅक्टर्स मीन्स इम्युन सिस्टम मध्ये जेव्हा अँटीबॉडीज तयार होतात, इम्युन रिस्पॉन्स तयार होतो, दॅट टाइम त्या सिस्टम मध्ये एक कॉम्प्लिमेंट प्रोटीन म्हणून पण एक स्पोक प्रोटीन म्हणू शकतो आपण. ओके. जसं कोएन्झाइम्स असतात, को फॅक्टर्स असतात, तसंच कॉम्प्लिमेंट सिस्टम इज देअर विच हेल्प टू प्रोड्यूस द इम्युन रिस्पॉन्स. दॅट फॅक्टर्स आर कॉल्ड एज द कॉम्प्लिमेंट फॅक्टर्स. सो प्रोटीन्स विच इज शेड विदिन द scope of cell membrane changes, for example soluble transferrin receptors are there. Then next type is the factors and inhibitors of the plasmatic coagulations. Okay, plasma मध्ये coagulation of clotting factors जे आहेत, those factors and inhibitors also acts as a plasma protein. Then oncofetal proteins, they are produced by the tumors, okay, or physiologically produced during the fetal period. For example, alpha fetal. So this is just a small classification of the plasma protein. And after that, the plasma protein gets synthesized by the liver and distributed in other parts. What happens after they synthesize this? The catabolism process is there. Catabolism is a breakdown. So plasma proteins are constantly broken down and removed from the circulation. leads to lower the serum concentration there in the of the plasma protein. Then after that, after the broken down, distribution is there. That is, plasma proteins move between the bloodstream and body fluid. For example, intracellular and extracellular compartments, both times. So if more protein shift out of the blood into tissues, their serum levels decrease there. Okay. Then lost into the third space. In condition like ascites means acidic fluid. कुठे असणार आहे? पोटामध्ये. Okay, acidic fluid. आपलं आहे. So it's fluid accumulation in the abdominal cavity, and the pleural effusion means the fluid buildup in the lungs. Okay. So in this case, plasma proteins leak out the blood into these spaces and reducing their concentration in the serum. Okay. म्हणजे काय, स्वतःच प्लाझ्मा प्रोटीन जे आहे ते त्याचा बॅलन्स सेट करते. So in short, this plasma protein level depends on how much it produced. Okay. किती प्रमाणात ते तयार झाले, किती प्रमाणात ते ब्रेकडाऊन होतात आणि कशा प्रकारे कुठे कुठे कशामध्ये ते मूव्ह होतात. It depends on these factors or conditions. Okay. So let's see the plasma proteins are determined in which cases: normo, hypo or hyperproteinemia. It means what? Protein production or protein level जेव्हा जास्त होते in the blood, that time plasma protein determined or analysis. Then these proteinemias, that is a disturbance in the plasma protein composition. Okay. Composition तयार होताना जे disturbances येतात त्या condition मध्ये सुद्धा it may determine. And in case serum protein electrophoresis, which shows a typical protein pattern. Electrophoresis is टेस्ट आहे, वन ऑफ द टेस्ट आहे ज्यामध्ये प्रोटीन्स और एनी मॉलिक्यूल्स जे आहेत ते आयसोलेट केले जातात और सेपरेट केले जातात. विल सी आफ्टर दॅट आधीच आपल्याला ते इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस. सो स्पेशल क्लिनिकल क्वेश्चन्स ॲज अ सिंगल प्रोटीन दॅट इज हिपॅटोग्लोबिन इन प्रिझ्युम्ड hemolytic anemia. In this condition also the protein plasma proteins will be determined. How it gets synthesized? Plasma protein gets synthesized. The same procedure is there for all type of proteins. Those are, you have heard maybe wave and all. This is basic translation, transcriptions processes are there for the protein synthesis. Let's see in short. The first step for the protein synthesis is the transcription. Okay, mainly protein है DNA पासून तयार होतात. Everybody knows DNA. Okay, DNA चे दोन strands असतात. Okay, nucleic acids are there आणि त्याच्यामध्ये जे कशाचे असतात त्या base pairs ज्या असतात DNA मध्ये त्या purines आणि pyrimidines असतात. Okay, so from this DNA transcription is there, DNA to mRNA. So DNA as a genetic code, त्यामध्ये genetic code म्हणजे काय, जे purines, different types of purines असतात त्याच्या pairs असतात त्या फिक्स अशा तीन purines and pyrimidines अशा pairs असतात तीन याच्या. That these pairs are called as the coding. Okay, प्रत्येक अमिनो ऍसिडचा और प्रत्येक प्रोटीनचा हा कोड हा फिक्स असतो. Okay, in every population, in every person, those genetic codes are varies. Okay, so DNA as a genetic code. So DNA in the nucleus carries the genetic information. And RNA polymerase action. What RNA polymerase does here? That RNA polymerase, this is the enzyme which creates an RNA copy of the DNA. Okay, DNA पासून RNA ची एक कॉपी तयार होते. RNA polymerase. And after that, mRNA formation. Intron, those are non-coding regions, are removed leaving mRNA. Intron, extron, हे माहिती आहे तुम्हाला? ऐकलंय? So exon हा जो पार्ट असतो त्यामध्ये कोडिंग असतं आणि ज्यामध्ये कोड्स नसतात प्युरिन pyrimidase किंवा अमिनो ऍसिडचे ते तो पार्ट म्हणजे इंट्रॉन्स. सो mRNA फॉर्मेशन कसं असतं, जो इंट्रॉन पार्ट असतो ज्यामध्ये कोडिंग नसतात ते तो ऑटोमॅटिकली रिमूव्ह आफ्टर दिस इन दिस ट्रान्सक्रिप्शन प्रोसेस, अँड त्यापासून मग mRNA फॉर्म होतो. Then mRNA what it does here, it carries the protein synthesis instructions. Okay, protein synthesis करण्याचे जे instructions असतात तो mRNA carry करतो from the nucleus to the cytoplasm. So regulation, the process regulated by the transcription factors here. The factors which going to be transcript this. Okay, transcription जे करणारे factors आहेत ते control करतात ती process. Those are protein bind to DNA. Okay, protein हा DNA ला bind होतो to either enhance or suppress this transcription. Okay, enhance म्हणजे पुढे extend करतो or whether तिथे ती suppress करतो म्हणजे prevent करतो. So this is the transcription, and for example active phase reaction is there. Active phase protein आपण जे पाहिले for example plasma protein चा जो एक आहे active phase proteins they transport करतात proteins. So in this process pro-inflammatory cytokines which trigger nuclear proteins. Trigger means induce करतात त्या nuclear proteins ला to increase the transcription process of the active phase protein there, like the C-reactive. Okay, this is the transcription process and translation. After that, translation is there. Transcription झाल्यानंतर mRNA translate करतो ती पूर्ण जी पण information असेल. So mRNA to ribosome, that is mRNA attached to ribosome. Everybody knows ribosomes. Okay. Then mRNA attached to ribosomes in the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Rough and smooth endoplasmic reticulum दोन टाइप्स असतात endoplasmic reticulum चे. हे सगळे पार्ट्स जे आहेत ते कॉम्पोनंट्स आहेत ते सेल मध्ये असतात. ओके, सगळी ही जी प्रोसेस असते ही सेल मध्ये होते. ओके, सो आफ्टर दॅट दिस अमिनो ऍसिड सिक्वेन्स तयार होतो. सो द राइबोसोम रीड्स द mRNA and builds a protein from amino acid. म्हणजे mRNA जो असतो तो जी इन्फॉर्मेशन कॅरी करून आलेला असतो तो त्याची तिथली इन्फॉर्मेशन राइबोसोम जे आहे ते रीड करतात आणि मग अमिनो ऍसिड सिक्वेन्स जो असतो तो तयार होतो. ओके, सो दिस इज द ट्रान्सलेशन and after that protein synthesis occurs. So site of this synthesis, that is plasma proteins are made in the ribosomes of the RTR, is the endoplasmic reticulum. Then ribosome composition is made of RNA and the proteins produced by the nucleus. Then single peptides are there. Okay, proteins gets two additional peptides during the synthesis. Which of them? Those are hydrophobic peptides. Hydrophobic means do not react with the or do not attach with the water molecule. So it guides the protein into the RTR. Then propeptide is there, which remains attached until the protein is ready for release. म्हणजे सगळ्यात शेवटी अमिनो ऍसिड सिक्वेन्स होतो आणि जेव्हा आता प्रोटीन तयार होईल आणि रिलीज होईल इन द ब्लड स्ट्रीम, दॅट टाइम दिस प्रोपेप्टाइड इज अटॅच्ड टू इट. अँड फोर्थ one is the folding and modification is there. That is proteins fold in the RTR and forming the disulfide bridges for stability. म्हणजे काय दोन सल्फर मॉलिक्युल्स जे असतात त्यांच्यामध्ये बॉन्ड तयार होतो आणि मग त्या प्रोटीन सिक्वेन्सला और प्रोटीनला स्टॅबिलिटी येते. ओके, इट मे नॉट चेंज आफ्टर दॅट. Then it gets transferred to the Golgi apparatus. It is one of the other part of the cell. Then some proteins move to the Golgi for final processing and the secretion. Then protein maturation is there. The propeptide is removed before final release from the secretory granules there. So you can see here just for fun with learning कि एक अशा प्रकारे इथे protein synthesis translation process होते. like this. हे जे आहे हे पूर्ण सिक्वेन्सेस जे आहे तुम्हाला दिसतंय कोडिंग दिसतंय थोडंसं पेंट आहे कोडिंग दिसतंय हे अशा प्रकारे दिसतंय हे कोडिंग आहे. mRNA करतोय आणि बाकीचे जे कॅरी करत आणतायत आणि हे जे वर आहे हा पार्ट अमिनो ऍसिड आहे जे पर्पल कलर दिसतंय ब्राऊन ओके सर्कल शेप ते आहेत डिफरंट टाइप्स ऑफ अमिनो ऍसिड आणि ते एकमेकांना अटॅच होत जातात आणि अशी चेन तयार होत जाते आणि अमिनो ऍसिड सिक्वेन्सची चेन तयार झाल्यानंतर मग तो प्रोटीन तयार होतो ओके here in the image also. See, यामध्ये काय आहे हे डिफरंट टाइप्स ऑफ अमिनो ऍसिड सिक्वेन्सिंग ओके आणि mRNA काय करतोय हा कोडिंग पास करतोय ट्रान्सक्रिप्ट करतोय हे कोडिंग आणि हे आहे हे डिफरंट टाइप्स ऑफ अँटीकोडॉन्स आहेत विच आर द कॅरियर मॉलिक्युल्स ओके ही बेस पेअर असते मेनली जो प्रोटीन तयार होतो मेनली याची ही बेस पेअर असते आणि अँटीकोडॉन मीन्स याच्या अगेन्स्ट ओके हा जर कोडॉन असेल याच्या अगेन्स्ट ही बेस पेअर्स ओके पण ह्याचा पेअर्स असतात ह्या फिक्स असतात ओके आणि हे जे असतात हे जे अँटीकोडॉन्स आहेत हे अमिनो ऍसिड कॅरी करून आणतात आणि एक एक जो अमिनो ऍसिड असतो तो रिलीज होत जातो सी आणि ते एकमेकांना अटॅच होतात आणि अमिनो ऍसिड सिक्वेन्स तयार होऊन त्याचा प्रोटीन तयार ओके इज इट क्लियर yes or no so after that release of proteins into the plasma layer so following post translational modifications the secretory plasma proteins are stored in vesicles that are separate from the Golgi apparatus okay Golgi apparatus पासून होतो release होतो in the blood. So these vesicles fuse with the plasma membrane of the cell and the proteins are released into the extravascular compartment via exocytosis. Okay. So the pro-peptide plays an important role in this process. So here is the protein synthesis is there. Then protein distribution, how it gets distributed. Then catabolized and you can see the structure how it plasma protein कशा प्रकारे दिसतो so plasma protein मध्ये तीन कॉम्पोनंट असतात आपण जे पाहिलं नॉर्मली अल्ब्युमिनचा पीक असा असतो अल्फा 1 इज देयर अल्फा 2 and बीटा then फायब्रिनोजेन जो फॅक्टर आहे थर्ड फॅक्टर क्लॉटिंग फॅक्टर तो अटॅच असतो बीटा ग्लोबुलिन okay and this is the gamma globulin that is immunoglobulins are antibodies okay this is the carbon structure you have seen under the microscope after the analysis of this plasma protein so functions of these plasma proteins let's see the osmotic pressure regulation is there that is albumin helps maintain the osmotic pressure of blood which preventing the leakage of fluid from the blood vessels into the surrounding tissue. Then transportation of substances. Various plasma protein transport the substances such as hormones, lipids, fatty acids, vitamins and the metal ions throughout the body. Then it produces the immune responses. As this plasma protein present the gamma globulins there. Okay? Immunoglobulins produce the immune response. So it is play an important role in the immune system by recognizing and neutralizing the pathogens, toxins and the foreign substances. And the last function is the blood clotting as fibrinogen is also present in that. So fibrinogen is one of the clotting factor and essential for the formation of the blood clots. So it is converted to fibrate which forms a meshwork or network that stabilizes the blood clots and prevents the excessive bleeding. Okay. Then last one is the normal value as we have seen before, but it is exactly what is the total protein approximately 6.8.60 6.0 to 8.3 gram per day. Albumin is approximately 3 to 5 3.5 to 5 gram per day. Then globulins clinically. Those are abnormalities in plasma proteins levels, can indicate